It is another edition of the WTOP Huddle. Boy, we have a full cast again this week. Rob Woodfork, Dave Preston, Cichon, George Wallace in between sportscasts, so nobody does it faster than George. And again, we're going to keep talking about Russell Westbrook, I think, and the Wizards, because Russell Westbrook's going to keep getting triple doubles, and he sets the record now, or surpasses Oscar Robertson, 182 career triple doubles. And that streak, I think now we've gone into the unbreakable territory again. It reminds me of Cal Ripken, now that he's played 2,632 games. The Lou Gehrig number we never thought would be surpassed. Cal did it. Cal's number that he has established, I don't think will ever be surpassed. Russell Westbrook, his number's not even fixed in stone. It's 182 and counting.
Yeah.
So Lord knows where that's going to end up. But the bottom line is the comparison I'm drawing here is two elite athletes in their respective sports with a tremendous commitment to competition day in and day out, and rooted in family values. Cal Ripken said it over and over again, getting that daily commitment as he watched his father. Scott Brooks shared with us this week, and Russell Westbrook shared coming from his mother and his father, telling him to always be on time, always be ready, and things that were instilled in him as a young child. And he just continues to carry to another level now in professional sports. So let's appreciate what we have with Russell Westbrook, because, I even think about calling that game. I didn't even know how to make that call, because we're seeing what we're not supposed to see here. And it's just so fitting that he gets his 10th rebound to secure the triple-double on a rebound, and he's a 6'3" guard. With that, I'll start with you, George, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. I think that we are, because and we got to see Cal up close, right? We got to see him here, obviously, in this area. And Russell Westbrook, probably somebody that we never thought we'd get to see here. The only person that could have come here in a trade for John Wall was Russell Westbrook because of the contracts. And as we mentioned last week, he's a guy that, in the media portrayed differently. And what we get to see now is, I think, for me anyway, a complete 180 of what he was portrayed as before he got here. And it's just a shame that not many people get to see him up close night in and night out. Now, hopefully, if they're still playing on June 11th, then, more people will get to see him in the arena. But the fact that we are able to see him now and appreciate it night in and night out, I think says a lot and makes you appreciate that much more about what he is and what he's been able to do. And the fact that the way he appreciates Oscar, the way he thanked Oscar after the game last night for allowing him to be himself, the way he's always said that about his head coach, Scott Brooks, and his teammates come first and this and that. And the way he has grown up with the work ethic and things like that. For me, it's very genuine, and it's great to see somebody that we thought we'd get to see night in and night out. So you just have to appreciate him and what he's been able to do. And as he said last night, I'm not done. So let's hope this story is far from over. As you guys just mentioned, I mean, that 182, okay, fine. He's got 5, 6, 7 years maybe left in the way he is prepared every night in and night out. So who knows?
And the reverence, as you mentioned, for Oscar Robertson, as he is driven and determined as Westbrook was in the game against Atlanta, he was as gracious in accepting his honor in the postgame. And he talked about how Oscar Robertson, and he appreciated that Robertson had to go through things that he never had to go through, because Robertson accomplished the feat in the 60s when it was a much different climate. We'll continue the conversation. Rob, you want to go from there?
Yeah. So there are two things that stand out with this record. Number one, he doesn't seem to get tired. That's the thing. And you're up close, Dave. You're seeing this. I mean, you never see the guy doing the tugging the shorts and kind of hunched over. I mean, he's playing in full minutes, and he's playing at a high level, and he's playing like it's the last play in the fourth quarter when it's the first quarter, and they just tip the ball off. So he's boundless energy. He's a terrific leader, And I think the second component to this is that not only is he getting these triple doubles, like he's pretty much lapping the numbers. And I had to look it up because off the top of my head, I couldn't think of another point guard that was capable of getting multiple 20 rebound games. Russ has 4 20 rebound games. He's a 6'3" guard who has multiple 20 rebound games. I can count on one hand how many bigs are capable of putting up multiple 20 rebound games. And as a 6'3" guard, he's doing that. It's insane. No other point guard has more than one in their career. So, you know, you look at the rebound totals, you look at I believe he's in the middle of a streak now, 5 straight games with 15 plus assists. He's got a career high in assists. He leads the league. Career high in rebounds. I mean, he's putting up career numbers. He's putting up eye-popping numbers. And I hope that we appreciate this because we've never seen anything like this before. I don't know that we're going to see it again. And the whole temptation is to put him, and some of this is on Scott Brooks too, for saying that he's the second best point guard in NBA history behind Magic Johnson. But, you know, we have to stop trying to compare him to other guys, A, because there is no other comparison. He's very unique. And B, let's just appreciate it for what it is. We don't have to always put everything in a historical context or compare guys from different eras and all of this. So, you know, he said it very well when he gave Oscar his flowers, because he really did do it at a time where it was, you know, a different climate. But, you know, I think Russ is just, I mean, there's no words for what he's doing right now.
No, and I don't think he sweats, and that's to your point. I'm not making fun of it, but I've never seen an athlete in any sport look as fresh in overtime as he does in the first quarter. And it makes you believe there must be cosmetic makeup or something, because you shouldn't look like that on a Saturday night in Indiana when you're in an intense track meet of a game that's played at the pace of a tennis match, and yet he looks like he could go a double header if there was such a thing as basketball. It truly is amazing. G?
You ain't lying, man. Track meet, certainly. If you're a betting man like myself, hopefully you were on the over in both of those games, as I was, because the points were aplenty, especially Saturday night going into overtime. So I pretty much knew that it was a guarantee there. Listen, what I think is crazy is we're singing the Wizards' praises, and we should be. The run that they've gone on is unbelievable. Russell Westbrook breaking a 47-year record is phenomenal in itself. But preseason, if you would have told us, hey guys, you know, you're going to be talking about a Wizards team that's in not 8th, 9th place, I think we would have said, they should be a little bit better than that. So this is where they should be. This is their level that they're now playing. They're capable of. Bradley Beal with 50. That was almost lost on everybody Sunday or Saturday night. He had 50 points. Didn't even play in the overtime period. This team is, you know, coming to be. They should be here though, and they're going to make some noise in the playoffs, no doubt. But it's been a crazy Eastern Conference, right? I mean, the Raptors officially eliminated, first time in 8 years. The New York Knicks having the record that they have, and Wizards are one of the hottest teams, or have been. The Knicks even superseded that. But now we enter the stretch run here. A couple games left in the regular season. In the playoffs, we see it in hockey with the randomness. I don't think in an NBA that's as much. I think the better team does come out on top more oftentimes than not in a best of 7. And Washington, depending upon who their opponent could be, definitely could be in that position to be the better team.
Yeah, and the battle on the boards, by the way, will be key, because Atlanta on Monday night did win that game, in part on the boards and also in part because I don't know what the referees were doing. They only took 11 free throws, the Wizards, and the Hawks took 26. Not that I'm bitter or anything.
Huge free throw disparity.
Right. And they only lose by 1, given that.
Yeah.
And without Bradley Beal in the lineup, that says a lot about the fortitude of a Russell Westbrook team.
Are you going to get fined? Are you going to get fined now for that comment?
I'll have somebody edit this out, I think. Dave?
Well, I think, you know, it's easy to separate the sizzle from the steak that is Russell Westbrook. It's easy to get caught into the sound bites where he does have a bit of a swagger. I'm not saying he's Ricky Henderson, but there are a lot of quotes. I'm the best, or I'm expecting to refer to himself in the third person or as Ricky or something along those lines. And it's easy to get caught into, okay, he generates a lot of stats. he's yet to win an NBA championship. But I think you really have to look at him in between the highlights, the things he does on both ends of the floor, the catalyst he has been for this team, the kind of energizer bunny that has rubbed off, that's just contagious. This team has played at a different level against lower opponents this year. They've beaten those teams, whereas in previous years, maybe they played down to their foes. They've gone on this run where they've won 27 of 49. I think entering this year, once they had made the trade before the regular season began, a 40-win season was not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, in December. With all the injuries, with everybody getting hurt, with COVID, that kind of went by the wayside, but they've won 27 of 49, which is about on a pace to win 40 games in a 72-game regular season. Question now is, how will Bradley Beal return? He had the hamstring issue. He's going to miss both games against the Hawks this week. Will he be ready for the postseason? If not, it's going to be one of those unfortunate things like when John Wall broke his hand against Atlanta a few years ago, and we were saying what if for a couple of months.
But the one thing, and I'll say this all with impartiality, you can't stop watching. And it occurred to me last night, down by 19 on the road to the Hawks without Bradley Beal, and yet they still make it a game. So they don't, you can't turn away, because this team, and this goes all the way back to January when they shouldn't have beaten the Brooklyn Nets at home, and then they scored 6 points in 6 seconds or whatever it was. There's a certain, don't count us out until the end, and they can be on their knees and they're still going to swing some punches. And I think that's going to make it a fun ride coming up.
No, absolutely. And they erased that deficit in Atlanta fairly quickly, almost as quickly as they fell into that hole, they erased it. So that was very impressive. They can play, a variety of different ways. And I think, like we've said, at least the last 3 weeks, this is not a team anybody wants to see in the playoffs.
Well, and the thing is, too, it's like in that situation, it's easy to fold and go home like, all right, we're coming back. Bradley's not playing. We'll play again in 2 nights. Fine. Yeah. Russell's got his deal. But that just shows you the type of leadership on the floor and guys that are now following Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal. And I'm not saying it would have been different, but, John Wall's body language on the court all the time wasn't, the best. I mean, that in that situation, you don't know what can happen. I'm not trying to say one way or another, but you can just tell the way now that these guys are playing behind their leaders, and it's showing in that, especially in that instance last night.
Again, that's why, and this is not to be negative about John Wall, but it's why all along people should have been excited about the trade, because in exchange, the Wizards were getting a future Hall of Famer. John Wall right now is not a future Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's ever going to be, but Russell Westbrook is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's in our town. Speaking of which, Alex Ovechkin is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer on the hockey side. Caps playoffs coming up. Anybody have any thoughts, concerns? It definitely feels worrisome because we keep counting how many people are not practicing on this team recently. Now, maybe they all get healthy and get on a run, but it does give you a feeling of anxiety.
I think that I'm very concerned because TJ Oshie, unable to get back on the ice. He has that lower body injury. I remember a couple of years ago, he got hurt again, I think in the series against Carolina, and they lost the last 2 games in that series without him. Is he the best player on this team? No, but on many ways, he's able to make these big plays that help you advance, around maybe further than you should. We've talked about injuries. This is an old team, an older team where with a different schedule, 56 games in a compressed, period of time. So one can't go into this playoff without being concerned, because even though we have the 2018 Stanley Cup in our presence, we've seen a lot of heartbreak with this with very good Capitals teams, with best in the league Capitals teams over the years. Boston's going to be a tough out. I could easily see it going 6-7 games, with every game being a white knuckler. Like I think it was Joel Ward who scored the game winner in overtime up in Beantown years ago when the Bruins were defending Stanley Cup champs. I think that was 2011 or 2012 when they did that. That feels like a lifetime ago, and the Stanley Cup playoffs feels like a lifetime, even just a 7-game series.
But doesn't that feel like sort of the recipe for the Capitals making a run? Because it was right at the point where we were just like, all right, these guys are choking dogs. They're never going to win anything of consequence. They're going to get president's trophies here and there, but they're never going to win a Stanley Cup. Right at the point where we started saying that and accepting that as truth. they go on a run and win the Stanley Cup. So right now they're banged up. Right now they're, shorthanded, and nobody expects them to make a deep run. But they have the rookie goaltender and all of these reasons why we don't think they can win. I mean, isn't that the recipe for how they win anyway? Is that they do it when we least expect them to do it?
Yeah, because we organized several parades over the years, and then we never got the party, and then the one we didn't expect is when it went on. Any other thoughts on the Caps before we move on?
I would just echo on a jump. For some reason, I started talking hockey and then I got kicked out, but that's all right. The goaltending would be I'm sure you just touched on it, but as always in the playoffs, goaltending is the biggest question mark for me.
All right. Nationals, they're in the division that should be a question mark, the National League East. It's one big question mark. So that should give us a heart that this will probably go down to September, because who's going to pull away? And we don't know if the Nationals have what it takes to pull away. Brad Hand had a tough weekend in New York, but we know his history. He'll probably get that right. We think. Nationals fans hope. I'll start with George. You have any thoughts on where the Nationals are as we take their temperature this week?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, the division, luckily the division is what it is. I mean, they're 3.5 out, in last place. And just show how quickly you go from first, then you lose 2 or 3 to the Braves, and all of a sudden you're in last place. But that is a little worrisome. Brad Hand, back-to-back days. You hope that Davey kind of gets a handle on the bullpen and using the bullpen. And again, you kind of tread where you are, stay where you are until you have your full complement. I mean, when Soto's back 100%, Steven Strasburg also, then I'll kind of go out and judge these guys. I mean, Scherzer, another gem the other day. Just sad to see the way it ended, in that bottom of the 9th inning. But they played, they just need to kind of stay even, as my man Jim Zorn would say. Stay medium for a while, and then when you get your full complement, and then you kind of make a decision as you get towards June or which direction you're going to go. That would be for me.
You get the award, a Jim Zorn reference in terms of the Nationals.
And that's it for me. See you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
Oh,
Leave them wanting more. I love it.
Yep. Hey, Preston.
it's unfortunate that not everybody's healthy right now, but that's the case with a lot of teams around Major League Baseball. What is still disturbing is the fact that they're getting the quantity of hits. They're in the top 5 in hitting in the majors. I think they may even lead the National League in batting average, yet they're still in the bottom 5. I think they were 29th in runs scored. And last week they had multiple chances to avoid getting swept by Atlanta. They stranded 10. They left, they went 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Granted, there was that one called third strike that may have been almost hitting the dirt, basically, for Victor Robles. Great eye by the batter, horrible eye by the umpire. But that's one instance, and calls will even out. They need to have more productive at bats, and I don't know what the disconnect is at this point. But when you have a pitching staff where Steven Strasburg is still on the injured list, when you have Patrick Corbin is good start, bad start, good start, bad start, when John Lester is still working his way back from not pitching for the first month, where you don't really know what you're going to get from Fedde and Ross on a daily basis. Your only given is Max Scherzer, and even with him, you don't know what the bullpen's going to do. These guys need to put runs on the board, and they're not. Kyle Schwarber, Josh Bell, 2 offseason acquisitions. I think I looked into it as saying, okay, they're going to revert to their 2019 numbers where they both produced 38 homers for Schwarber, 116 RBI for Bell, as opposed to last year. I think Schwarber hit under 200. Bell was under 250. Those 2 guys are more reflective of their 2020 numbers than they are their 2019 numbers. They need those guys to get back on track, because runs need to start flowing, because they can't depend on their pitching staff that's banged up and still working on coming back if they're going to contend.
Chief?
Talking about contending, I just watched a Braves team this past weekend, Sunday Night Baseball. They've got Ynoa, one of their young pitchers who stifled the Phillies offense. Their pitching staff is without Mike Soroka, who has worked the Nationals in years past here. Max Fried is really good. I think George kind of actually said it best before we rolled out. Stay medium, right? And I think they basically have been. Patrick Corbin kind of coming more back to the norm, awaiting the Strasburg return. Joe Ross, I watched that Sunday performance. He was wild and couldn't control his pitches, but it worked to his advantage. He kept the Yankees on their toes, but he was hitting 95, 96. Joe Ross, I talk about Corbin being an X factor. You need Joe Ross to go out there every 5 days and pitch well, and he did that. He put his team in position to win. Injuries, Starlin Castro has been a nice addition there at third. That's been kind of the hole since Rendon left, who, by the way, Rendon on the injured list once again out there in California. Do we want to pay him a ton of money? I mean, I don't know. It's been a void third base, but Rendon spent a lot of time on the injured list, and I wouldn't say the Angels are going into the postseason or the class of the AL West. So that's just a little side point there. But again, think this Nats offense is okay, but the Braves, they're tough. No doubt about it.
I think we have making some new column, Chris Cichon side points. He always goes off and leaves you wondering, all right, I see where that mind's going. Rob?
Hey, those bumpy roads lead to beautiful places, right? That was the saying in the World Series run, right? I think it's also worth pointing out, and to Dave's point, yes, they are second worst in runs scored. They're seventh in batting average, so they're getting hits. They're just not getting timely ones, and they're stranding base runners like crazy. That feels like something that's going to get worked out eventually. I feel like there's a hot streak that's going to come at some point. I don't know when, but like who they are right now is kind of who they've been this season to this point. And I think it also bears pointing out they haven't had the benefit. A lot of their series have sort of fallen as such where you're getting sort of the meat of the opponent's pitching matchups. They're not really getting series where they're getting, sort of the back end of the opponent's rotation. So some of it is they are going up against some of the best pitching that the opponents, anyways, have to offer. And they've seen DeGrom at least once or twice, I believe, at this point. So, and he's worked them for years now. So I think hopefully once they start to, maybe some of these series will time out a little bit better where they're getting more favorable pitching matchups. Maybe some of this will start to lead to a hot streak.
All right, let's bring this whole thing home. It's whatever topic's on your mind. I'll start with you, Dave Preston. I think lacrosse, we should celebrate lacrosse now I limited the local teams to just around this beltway, but you've expanded it to half of the East Coast or something. No, but in all seriousness,
Hey, Stony Brook's in the target demo. Yeah,
this is a great lacrosse area in all seriousness.
And it is. And I think, you look at this upcoming weekend, 3 of the top 5 men's seeds are from the area: Maryland, Georgetown, Virginia. We're going to extend things down to Charlottesville. They all play Saturday and Sunday. Loyola is in action as well. Women's bracket, everybody from Loyola to Mount St. Mary's, Maryland, James Madison, Johns Hopkins, Towson, Virginia. So they're getting the postseason back that was robbed last year. I had a chance to talk to Maryland women's coach Kathy Reese, and it's, every season is like a novel. And even though the Maryland women have gotten to the Final Four every year for the last decade, you still don't know how you're going to get to that last chapter. And it was as though you're reading a book and all of a sudden the last chapter of a mystery novel is missing. And so it was very disappointing for both the men and the women's teams across the nation where they weren't able to finish their seasons. I'm just glad that they're able to get that this year. So looking forward to that. One last aside, baseball, Jordan Zimmerman announcing his retirement. Here's a guy who deserved more in DC. He had that no-hitter to end the regular season. He should have started game 1. He should have finished game 2. He did not. And then the next year they bring Max in and all that. He winds up leaving. He comes back finally with Detroit, where he's having an up and down season. He's on his way out. He's on his way down as far as his career. The week that he comes back in with the Tigers to pitch against his former team, the Nationals sign Steven Strasburg to an extension, and then Max Scherzer goes out and strikes out 20, and Zimmerman isn't able to get out of the 3rd or 4th inning, I think. I mean, just talk about a hard luck guy. Guy deserved better, but hey, congratulations on a great career. One of the first he was one of the guys who helped get this team to the postseason for the first time. So we salute you, Jordan.
And just to jump on your lacrosse, Maryland women are defending champs. right?
I believe so. It's been 7 years since we've had a tournament. Oh,
You know,
no.
it
Yes.
dawned on me. I covered that, and
Yeah.
that was 2019. And you're not. We had the same thing with Virginia basketball. You're thinking, well, they can't. Well, I guess they did. And the Maryland men are undefeated in lacrosse. G, your final thoughts on anything on your mind, or a side point. Take us down a road.
I said pre-show that we weren't going to talk any derby because of the fact that just a stain on the sport at the moment. But I do want to add, Bob Baffert did release a statement after calling it cancel culture. Now basically is saying that there was an ointment that the horse used for an infection that contained the banned substance. I just hope we don't get to a point with horse racing where it turned into basically like cycling, right? I mean, Lance Armstrong was the man when I was a kid, and people loved seeing him win. And then after that, what have you heard about the Tour de France, really? I know my man Jacob watches it over at WTOP during his downtime. That's about it. I don't think people are really into cycling anymore. I could be wrong. So I just hope that horse racing doesn't go that way, because it's a really bad look. Bob Baffert's been in trouble before. And are we really going to have the conversation before every race? Oh, hope this horse isn't, shot up with something. There's been a lot of incidents at Santa Anita racetrack. I think horse racing is wildly entertaining to watch, but at this point, it's just not cool what's happening.
Well, no, wildly entertaining, but it's a sport that continues to have challenges, and you're right. It does not need more scandals, because it has a few right now. Rob?
Well, we are on the eve of the NFL schedule release, so we don't get to touch on it here today. But the one thing, what's the fascination with Tim Tebow? I don't get it.
He's awesome.
I mean, he was awesome.
National championships.
He was awesome in college, and he proved repeatedly that he's not a good player in the pros. But now they're talking about bringing him to Jacksonville, moving him to tight end, a position that he's never played before. And I get that Urban Meyer was his college coach and all of those ties, and I get it. But there's no benefit to bringing Tim Tebow other than selling jerseys. And if that's what the Jacksonville Jaguars are about, then fine, just admit that. But the Tim Tebow thing, especially at a time when Colin Kaepernick, who proved that he can play in the NFL, still can't get an opportunity 4 years later to bring back a Tim Tebow who hasn't set foot on NFL field since 2012 in a regular season. That's a horrible look for the NFL, and it's just not a good look.
All right. With that, we had another great get together. We've got a town full of Hall of Famers we just talked about, with Alex Ovechkin, Russell Westbrook, Max Scherzer.
What's up with DC United, Dave? When are they going to get on track?
Yeah, seriously.
That first game was great.
Yeah, they're going to get on track. Trust me. Just like the Wizards got on track at some point. Boy, Christian has side points, his side roads, and now he's trying to give me a headache. All right, that does it for this for George Wallace, Dave Preston, my friend Christian, and Rob Woodfork. Thanks for watching.
Break.